If you want to get yourselves into kind of groups of 3s or 4s in a moment, sort of turn the chairs around, move things around, and just have a think together as what are the reasons why people don't get together? Why is it that youth groups find this difficult? What are some of the objections? They can be practical reasons, they can be social reasons, they can be theological reasons, whatever you like, but see if you can come up with maybe 6 or 10 reasons. What is it that stops people? If you go to a youth group and say, let's do a Christian-Muslim dialogue thing, what are some of the comeback you're going to get? What are some of the problems, the hurdles to overcome?
Yeah, I was just going to say that really bad.
So what do you all think prevents people getting together, like Christians and Muslims specifically?
Personally, I think it's lack of knowledge.
Which group has authority to speak for any type of Muslim community? In terms of individuals, do they speak for communities or do they just speak for themselves?
It's been interesting to see who might be able to get involved in this sort of opportunity to dialogue. And sometimes it's just practical reasons that people aren't free, aren't able to. But I think there needs a lot of information for people to feel comfortable and overcome that aspect of fear to get involved.
Part of my job would be to first sort of educate the young people I'm working with so they can understand the need in order to meet people of other faiths. Immediately they're probably not going to go, well, if I was to say to them, hey, let's go meet another Muslim youth group, I imagine the response is going to be, why?
A lot of them are almost fearful.
So my initial point is probably going to be to educate them, point out the reasons why it's important to do it, and then there is likely to be more of a willingness to do it, because there are so many other things that they are involved with, because they're busy people.
One of the examples that I just want you to raise, because I just think it's really important when we talk about discussion and conversation and dialogue, and it's one of the things that you were talking about in terms of university and campuses and some of the issues that you encountered as a student.
I went to Bradford University because I come from North Wales, which is a very small little village, and although I went to a massive comprehensive school, it is very, not very multicultural and stuff. But I was very aware of multicultural Britain, and I wanted to go to a multicultural university in a multicultural city when I left school. And I also wanted to do the course at Bradford. So I went to Bradford, and I did engage and have lots of friends from different countries and different ethnic backgrounds in Bradford. Although when I left university, I realised I hadn't learned anything about Islam, which I kind of expected, I suppose, and other people would expect that you would by going to Bradford. And I hadn't really engaged, although I had friends from, and really close friends from different cultures. We'd never really engaged in conversations about faith or culture, or just getting to know each other on a different level, I suppose, than a superficial level, I suppose. And I think that was definitely the case for most people on campus at university. It was very obvious that there were distinct groups of students in a racial and a faith way. So, yeah.
But there was another really good example that you threw out, which was possibly connected to the point that Fahima raised, because you're an interfaith worker, aren't you?
Because I work for Wandsworth Council, and although it's interfaith youth work, all the money comes from the government's Prevent Violent Extremism. And so when we've tried to engage with mosques, it's been a real barrier to kind of getting them on board. And so I was just saying that we had one particular case that I was talking about was we had youth workers that saying they were going to send some young people to our workshops, but then and I've built up a lot of trust with them and a rapport with them and stuff. And then when it actually came to it, and they looked at the agenda and they found out where the money was coming from, they just completely washed their hands of it and just kind of turned their backs on it. And it was felt like a bit of a slap in the face, but I could perfectly understand their kind of concerns. But even on, that's what I was saying to you, even on a personal level, it felt like a bit of a barrier had suddenly shot up between a personal relationships. So,
where is the support for the people that are engaged in this type of work? If it's because I think in both Christianity and Islam, and especially Muslims and Christians within communities, there will always be those people that do not want to engage. There will always be those people who don't want to participate, who will always be critical. So how do we deal with that? And a lot of times it's about modelling the friendship publicly, which almost gives permission. I was mentioning that to you, it almost gives people the permission and says you can retain your Muslim identity, but equally you can engage in interfaith work. And I suppose in a sense a Christian Muslim Forum is a really good example of how friendships are modelled publicly. So when you have somebody like the Archbishop of Canterbury talking about, and he's also the patron of the Christian Muslim Forum, when you have somebody like that publicly talking about the importance of this sort of engagement, it almost gives people permission and says it's acceptable.